Good afternoon, everyone. And after the break, welcome back to our third session in Hall B, a topic very close to my heart that is nutrition in non communicable diseases, a holistic approach towards this idea. The moderator for our session today is Dr. Geeta Dharmatti, madam. Could I have her introduction slide, please? Dr. Geeta Dharmatti is the director and founder of Geeta NutriHeal Nutrition Consultancy. She is the chief nutrigenomic counselor at Gene Support. She happens to be the PhD guide in nutrition at TIAC Maharashtra Vidyapeeth. She is the executive member of the Indian Dietetic Association and the chief bariatric nutritionist at Diabetic Obesity Surgical Solutions. Her areas of expertise involve critical care, bariatric, nutrigenomics, wellness, and diet management. Dr. Geeta, over to you today.
Thank you, Dr. Deshmukh. It's wonderful to be here as a part of Synapse team. Congratulations to the whole Synapse and Spear team to get all these alternative medicine therapies together and look at a very integral part of application with mind, body, and connect to each other. And definitely, as you said, nutrition, the session cannot be complete without nutrition. And I am so humbled and privileged to be a part as a moderating this session. So to start this session, we have initial 20 minutes talk by our senior most dietitian and nutritionist in our fraternity, Dr. Dharmatti Krishnan. Can I have a CV slide, please? Yeah. It's immense pleasure, and I'm humbled again to be introducing Dr. Dharmatti Krishnan. She's dietitian and nutritionist. She's PhD from University of Madras. She has a vast experience in various hospitals as consultant dietitian and also been in academia as an assistant professor at Institute of Hotel Management. There are many, many awards and recognitions to her credit, but to name them few, she has Amio Bose Award of IDA, which is Indian Dietetic Association. She was also a former national president of IDA. She was former chairperson of RD board, which is registration board in IDA. She has professional memberships and also she has contributed to a lot of papers, researchers. She has a very active social handles and she does a lot of Instas and Facebooks to keep her patients, audience updated about current dietary practices. She's going to speak on very interesting approach because she has a great depth of knowledge on integrated nutrition. And that is why I think we look forward to hear from her about food versus nutrition. Because we all know food is connect, happiness, social, food is celebration, food is somewhere very close to each one of us' heart. So we look forward, ma'am, to hear from you from this topic, that how differently does this food and nutrition impact on our mind. So over to you, Dr. Dharmatti, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Geeta, and thank you, Synapse team, for giving me this opportunity. It is indeed a great pleasure to be in this conference, which is so close to my heart, where food is part of the mind. Just bear with me while I share my slides. Just give me a second, please. I hope you can see my slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So the topic given to me is, as you see, food and versus nutrition, how differently does it impact our mind? So here we are going to run through the modern a little bit, and then we go on to integration. That is how my talk is going to go today. So what is food in itself? It is basically what we eat, drink, eat, and what energy we get from it to stay alive. But what is nutrition itself? It is part of the food that is used by our cells and metabolized by the body to make all the contributions that our body needs. Not all the nutrients are required to come from food. So we'll learn about this as we go further. So how does food affect the brain cells? An unhealthy diet, which is rich in fats and sugar, which is what most of our people today, mainly the youngsters who eat, which can lead to inflammation in the neurons, and it can lead to a lot of brain disorders. One could be depression. So when we have artificial sweeteners or sugar or trans fats, what does it do? It creates insomnia, anxiety, irritability, and the neurons are really in trouble. So food we eat, how does it affect the brain? It basically, if we have a healthy diet, which has good protein, fruits and vegetables, lot of natural vitamins, minerals, phytates, it actually helps neurogenesis, which is formation of neurons, and which also increases the synaptic plasticity, which is basically the connections between the neurons, which helps it become stronger over time. The more the connections, the better we are able to communicate, and we can learn, think, and our memory is much better. There is something called the BDNF, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that enhances growth and survival of neurons. And how does this happen? Basically, a healthy diet is what increases the BDNF. And the increased neurogenesis in the hippocampus can improve our learning, memory, mood, attention, and mental health. We are in this phase where even a child talks about having not a great mood for the day. So it directly what we eat impacts our mood and our cognitive powers. So what does an unhealthy diet do? It actually, it's kind of a stress hormone which activates the brain's microglia and astrocytes, and this creates inflammation, which can create depression and other problems. Sodas have a lot of sugar, even diet sodas, which contain artificial sweeteners, are not good for the brain. Because a lot of people, even young children, are moving towards artificial sweeteners, thinking that will help them maintain their weight or remove the extra weight that they have taken. But this can lead to irritability, anxiousness, and even sleep disturbances. So does that mean that one size fits all? Does the food we eat digest the same for every one of us? Even in a family, even in twins, it's very different. How do we explain this? This we can explain through the prakriti of our body, which affects the food, nutrition, and our mind. Ayurveda prescribes that food or ahara is beneficial for you, which is called as patyam, because the food that each person needs to take is individualistic. Geeta is a genetic counselor and introduced a lot of us to that field initially. And we know today that genomics, where Ayurveda and genetics are falling together. When the prakriti analysis of a person is done, it is much easier to get your genetic typing, because when you take your genetic typing individually, it's very difficult to understand it. So food nourishes body and mind. And if people without focusing and concentrating and enjoying the food does not get assimilated, you need to enjoy the food. Pleasure is very, very important. If you are not concentrating on your food, the body goes through the flight and fight mode, and it literally does not assimilate your food. The olden way people used to do is chant the Vedas while they ate food, which gave you the right environment, the right vibrations. You need just 20 minutes to yourself while eating, no social media, no smartphones in front of you, no multitasking windows. I always tell my brother, why did you even be part of creating the windows? Because the desk operating system allowed us to do only one thing at a time. And that's what we need to do when we eat. So what does Bhagavad Gita tell us? The properties of food is related to the guna of the mind, or the type of the mind. So relationship between the sattva, rajas, and tamas, and the nature of food that you take to what your mind behaves. So freshly prepared food, you can meditate, concentrate, create, and imagine things. Rajasic nature, spicy food, excess salt, excess sour, hot and thermal properties alone not, also spicy so creating hot through spices creates anger, anxiety, emotions, too much of energy, which you do not know what to do. Like, how do you manage a toddler? The energy is so much, you don't know how to handle it. Tamas, food cooked more than 3 hours away, and yesterday's food, rotten smelling food. It affects your sleep. It affects the part of mind which gets you sluggish. So, moving on to the Upanishad, the Chandogya Upanishad quotes, food when eaten becomes threefold. The coarsest portion becomes the feces, the middle portion the flesh, and the subtlest is the mind. So, just like when we churn the curd, which most of us don't even know today, you have to prepare curd, cream off the extra cream, and you make the butter. So that butter is how the subtle level, how the butter rises when you churn the curd, is how the mind will be if you have a sattvic food. Preeti food is a particular nature of sattvic food that satisfied nutritionally, and therefore the mind is also calm and composed. Sattva food that increases the quality of sattva within you, and the food promotes virtue, both in the sense of strength and sense of goodness. It lightens and promotes a healthy body and mind. Food is actually spiritual in its effect. Then we go on to breathing. If you do deep breathing before a meal, you can digest your food better because you're calm. Diaphragm breathing is a very good way to manage stress, which improves your gut health. Getting quality sleep, limiting caffeine, and practicing yoga can help in digestion. Lot of our patients are always complaining. We get gas, ma'am, we can't eat dal. We have acidity, we can't eat this food. We are not able to eat. And as soon as I eat, I feel full and I feel very uncomfortable. So they have a whole list of foods they cannot eat. So you actually can help. Different asanas can help you get over the problems that you have, whether it's flatulence or whether it is indigestion or acidity. Yoga can help in a very big way. Now let's go to the Quran, which says, no human being has ever filled a container worse than his own stomach. The son of Adam needs no more than a few morsels of food to keep up his strength. Doing so, he should consider that a third of his stomach is for food, a third for drink, and a third for breathing. And similarly, Ayurveda says a third should be a gap, a third should be water, and a third only should be food. So everything talks about similar things, but we tend to not follow it. What does the Bible say? Listen to me and eat what is good, and you will delight in the richest of fare. But do we really do this? What are we eating? Smoothies, fruit and milk put together, which is viruddha ahara, which means these two taken together is actually creating toxins inside the body. Cream of tomato soup is sour and milk put together, which is not the best of combinations. Some people who have good digestion can handle it, but people whose Agni, which is called as the digestive power, if it is low, it can lead to migraine, sadness, upset, anger if you take food, which is viruddha ahara, that is foods which should not be taken together. Undigested food can create havoc in the body and mind, and hence we need to watch out. There is a whole list. I've just given you 2 examples, which are one of the commonest examples. And if you keep taking smoothies, specifically with berries, it actually raises your sugar. Now, what is the role of Ayurveda, dietetics, and integrative health care? Because no single system of medicine claims optimum solution for healthcare needs. Health-seeking behavior studies reveal 40 to 70% of the global population exercise pluralistic choices. I was totally surprised. Recently, I was in the US for the postpartum period of my daughter's delivery, and I saw so much of Ayurveda is being practiced there. They even have postpartum massages being organized at home. They take so many spices, whereas we do not seem to be realizing how important it is. India seems to be going backstep on these things. We need to work forward for integration. So the trend suggests that integrative healthcare combining systemic and molecular approaches could be the emerging future of healthcare. What are the key dimensions? Food as a source of health for physiological and mental balance. See, they talk about both. That is very important. Food as a cause of disease, so you need to avoid like Viruddha Ahara, and food is medicine, which will help you get better. So what is the primary focus here? Seamless care, coordinated care for patients and their families. India is so unique that we already have home remedies in place. In fact, every other home was using the home remedy on this 40-day-old baby, which is so good for digestion and preventing cold, cough, and fever. If you're able to match into our systems of dietetics and provide a solution which is unique for a specific person and problem, which also nutrigenomics is talking about, and combining genomics, we are going to be the kings of the world. What are the advantages? Higher quality of care, better health outcomes of patients, and optimum health by integrating two systems of medicine. We have enough Mark Heyman was invited last year to India, and he follows functional medicine. And what do you think the roots are? It is basically this thing of following Ayurvedic medicine. Akhil Palanisamy, he's an MD in modern allopathy medicine. And he has come out with the Paleo-Vedic diet, where he's talking about Ayurveda. So we need to learn that Harvard-trained physician is writing about Paleo-Vedic diet, where he learned Ayurveda, and it re-energizes, restructures, reframes your perspective. So what do? They use Paleo-Vedic diet, which has integrated care. Traditional diets are important. Your genetic type decides whether you're susceptible to NCDs. Initially, we all dietitians used to say ghee is bad, cow's milk is bad, coconut oil is bad, move to sunflower or new age oils. People started reducing even the tadka that they were doing. But what is the new age science saying? Ghee is good, coconut oil is good, do not use processed oils, go to cold press oils and so on. And what does the keto diet say? Drink oils, because the amount of fat that they ask you to eat, you cannot take it. And that can be done only for short time. You can write a PhD on idli, which is one of the traditional foods of south of India, which is kind of world over people know about it. But rice and black gram, the lacunae of one and the other is made up for, and we have a complete protein. So let's talk about vada. Nutritive value of vada, I'm looking at a very medium-sized vada, not a very big one. And you see in front of you the calories, protein, and fat. If I make a curd vada out of it, you add the curd nutritive value to that. And if you have a rasa vada, you add the rasa nutritive value. This is how we look at it in modern nutrition. But what happens in Ayurveda? The plain vada is very difficult to digest. If your Agni is not good, it can actually create a lot of problem and mind issues in your body. Curd vada is even more difficult because curd is difficult and so is vada, and similar dishes is your dahi wala char, which actually can affect your mind if it's not assimilated properly. Rasa vada, because of the spices, the tamarind actually helps in digestion of the urad dal, and it's a better way to help in digestion and helps once your food is digested properly, your mind is going to be calm. Dal in modern nutrition, different types of dal. We have calories, carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. which are very similar. But how does Ayurveda look at it? That urad dal is difficult to digest and moong dal is easier to digest. So if you have digestive issues, start with moong dal. In fact, after delivery, we start with moong dal and then only proceed to other types of dals. We use a lot of spices to help the digestive system come back. But all this is not practiced or used by dietitians in our country. So digestion is the key. It is the Agni, or your ability to digest food, which creates what you are. If you digest the food properly, remove the waste and toxins from your body, you assimilate your food properly by eating according to your body systems and digestive power, mental health, mind functions will be at your best. But if you do not look into it and you eat anything and everything at any time, whether you are hungry, whether you're not hungry, whether it suits you, whether it doesn't suit you, then the food is not going to help you. It is not going to be assimilated. It is only going to be in the diet chart where you actually calculate the nutrients. If you want assimilation, you have to work towards getting the right type of food for yourself, which will help the food versus nutrition for your mind, which will help you be what you are. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm happy to hand over the session back to Geeta.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmatti Krishnan, ma'am. It was really wonderful to understand the integration of two sciences. And I can conclude, and I'm waiting for the questions from the audience, and we will definitely take up a few questions from the audience. I request the audience to put their questions in the chat box so we can have the expert opinion of Dr. Dharmatti Krishnan on that particular aspect which you are looking for. But what I could look at is the Chandogya Upanishad, the butter example, which you so beautifully said, and the 1/3 portion of the area where we need to look at food, water, and the air in our stomach very much connects with our own modern physiology, also functional medicine. I think it's time the dietitians start integrating these two, but we need to have evidence. We need to put it as a base for putting molecular nutrition, genomic nutrition, or we could call it as an integrated nutrition in front of the world with some kind of evidence. And I think the dietetics is a very dynamic, changing field now where we have so much new things to talk about. I'm still waiting for the questions. We don't have any questions as yet, but I would ask you a few questions, ma'am. If, as a senior dietitian, with a very less knowledge of Ayurvedic dietetics, and most of the times we do not really have affirmation, or we don't really work on Ayurvedic practices. Very beautiful example of Vada you gave, where for me it's a protein meal, for me it gives me satiety, it delays gastric emptying. And if somebody says, can I eat dahi vada, can I eat rasam vada? I said, go for it, work on the calories, keep the portions control. So we work on portions, we don't think about digestibility, we don't think of assimilation. Now going ahead as an integrated approach towards nutrition, if you have to look at NCD, non-communicable diseases, where you have diabetic, obesity, a metabolic syndrome patient, what will be your advice and how you would handle these kind of approaches in your counseling or in your advices?
Correct. See, basically, we cannot learn Ayurveda and Ayurvedic people cannot learn modern nutrition. So we work together with the practitioner. And first, what we do is we give them a Prakriti analysis. If it's online, we give them, a questionnaire through which we learn the Prakriti. Otherwise, the Ayurvedic practitioner will assess and tell us. And then we work together to come out with the diet chart, which will help their diabetes. For example, in diabetes, they have many more classifications than what we have. So we need to work together to move through. And let me tell you that Ayurveda also is coming out with clinical research. It is not that it is just, the Ved talking about it anymore. They are coming out with very specific research, which is what I put out about the yoga, and I put out about other things where research is coming out. So I think everybody is waking up, and I think the strengths of nutrigenomics genomics, and modern nutrition together, if we work, we, I think, are going to be the king of the world.
Fantastic. So I think here we are with integrated approach and looking forward for a lot of areas, especially in food and nutrition, when food connects with us so much emotionally. And we look at appetite and satiety challenges. Most of the times while handling food, we don't look at nutrition, we don't look at calories. It's more of appetite and satiety. What you say more sense that we need to integrate all these concepts and work going forward towards this if we really have to look at mind-body nutrition aspect of adherence. Thank you very much, Dr. Dharmatti, ma'am. We do not have any questions from the audience. So I'm actually from the team Synapse, I'm humbled and I'm actually very thankful for you to give time. I understand you have challenges at your place with a small kid at your place. Still, you have taken time to come up and talk about this wonderful topic to us because we couldn't think anybody else telling us about integrated nutrition to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a great pleasure to be. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.